And you?
Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to our astrology video. I am very honored and privileged today to be working with Dorothy Taylor, very learned astrology. She's been doing it a very long time. We have decided to get together to do a short video, hopefully under 30 minutes, on the eclipses, where they fall in your house and how you can work with that energy. Now, we're aiming to do this video as a general guide to eclipses, so it doesn't have to be specific to an eclipse. So we're just going to go through each house and highlight what those meanings mean. But we are doing an eclipse season. There is an eclipse this weekend that you can actually use this video for. And we are doing this on Mercury retrograde, Mercury stationing today. So we might end up redoing this at some point, you never know. But we're going to start over. Dorothy is sharing her screen, and she has created this beautiful piece of artwork here. Looks really nice. It's hopefully very easy for those of you that don't understand astrology as fully as as fully as we do, that we can explain where the houses are, what numbers they are, and where you can find them in relation to your chart. So Dorothy, we have the chart there, and it's Taurus on the ascendant.
Yes.
And are we starting with Taurus rising for the video? Should we? Yes. Do you want to go through and explain your chart and then how each house is, where each house is, because you've got the mouse.
Right. So I'm Dorothy Taylor, and we are going through the houses, and so we're starting with the eclipse first on the polarity of the first and the seventh house. As we go, we'll turn the chart around so the eclipse takes place in each house. In order to use your own chart for this, you would just simply look at where this eclipse is in your house. And as we go through the description for each polarity, you'll be able to find find in your chart where this eclipse is taking place.
Yeah, perfect. So what you would need to do to use this chart is you would need to know what your chart is. So you'd need to download a copy if you can. You can do so online. There's Google free birth chart, and you can pull up a copy of your birth chart. You can also use apps these days to get your birth chart up. Once you have your birth chart, you can see where your rising sign is, and then what you need to do is start thank you, Dorothy, start with the rising sign and count the houses moving forwards from there. So the first, the second, and so forth.
Second. That's right.
Yeah. So you move around, and then we finish up with house number 12. So there's 12 houses in total. Now, when you're looking at where the eclipses are, you would need to know the sign of the eclipse. So for example, we've used the eclipse this week, which is Taurus Scorpio. So you would look for the symbol for Taurus and the symbol for Scorpio and see which houses they fall in. So for this, you can see Taurus is over there in the first, and Scorpio is up there in the 8th.
7th.
So first and 7th. Yes. Oh my goodness, Mercury. Mercury's already playing with me. Yes, first and 7th would be the first, then second and 8th, and so forth.
And don't forget to have fun with this.
Yeah, it's simple math, really. I should be able to work it out. They're always opposite, so that's the easy way of knowing it as well. So if you're looking at the first, you know the other side. You're working with this for 7th. You're looking at the second
for a full moon.
Yeah.
And this full moon eclipse is a total eclipse, and I believe it is visible from the East Coast. I'm not sure exactly what time it's happening now that we're mentioning that. So the first house is your I am statement. It's a part of your identity. It relates to how you present yourself to the world. Now,
Seventh house is the opposite of that. It's how you relate with others, and this is our closest relationships with other people. This isn't to be confused with our friendship groups or people we associate with at work. This is the close partner that you have. It could be a business partner, romantic partner, but a day-to-day partner.
and so an eclipse in this area of your chart across these two polarities would have to do with balancing the energies between what you are sharing in your relationships and
Mhm.
what you want for yourself. So your I am and we are state
Definitely.
would be affected. And eclipses, the full moon eclipse brings endings, and the new moon, which happened 2 weeks ago on April 30th in Taurus, starts a new beginning.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I always say when I'm talking to clients about eclipses hitting in their charts. It's that kind of a push and pull energy sometimes, because it's endings and beginnings, and it's operating within those two polar opposite houses. So there can feel like there is a push between what do I need for me and what does my partner need right now. And that's a theme that can be highlighted at the eclipse time when the eclipses are happening, but also the nodes are traveling through those houses over an 18-month time. So you might see that playing out, during that time the nodes are in those signs as well, and those houses.
And because the nodes have been in the house or those houses for a little while, this is the north node, this is the south node, it's not as if this is really coming out of the blue. You've been focusing on this area of your life for a while, and normally you have a hint of what is going on there. Before these eclipses, what eclipses tend to do is turn over a new page or push you towards resolving whatever type of issue or challenge you have in that area of your life. And so in the first house, the I am, and the seventh house, we are, those are the questions that you're working on. You
Yeah,
ready to go to the second house now?
yeah, I think that was great. I also I just wanted to just add in that eclipses happen like every 6 months. So we saw that the last eclipse is 6 months ago, and we usually get like 3 rounds of an eclipse. So this energy that you might be experiencing in the first and seventh house, there would be usually like 3 stages of eclipses. So they might be the first, this is the second, and then the third will be like in this particular example in 6 months' time. So, it might be a gradual process as well, with like an awakening, a reaction, and then like a closing if you get something happen with all of the eclipses in that house at that time when it's traveling through.
We can always tell where an eclipse is going to take place astrologically based on where the nodes are in the chart. If a node, generally speaking, if the nodes are within 10 degrees of the sun and the moon when they meet in that sign or across those signs, then it will be full. If it is further away from the nodes, the position of the nodes, than 10 degrees, it's usually partial.
Yeah.
So now we have the eclipse taking place in the second house, and the houses
Second.
don't move in the astrology chart. The signs can move, but the houses don't move. And so the second house always means the same thing, no matter which sign is on the cusp.
So the second house is is to do with what we it's what we own, what we possess, what our values are. It can literally be your income and the possessions within your home, but it can also be what you hold dear, what you hold as your truth, what's important to you, and discovering what your values are. So then we get the eighth house, which is the opposite side to that.
And that's shared resources. So if we have the dynamic between the personal and the shared resources, and the eighth house can all represents those types of things that we share with people that have a deeply emotional tone, our attachments
Yeah.
to our relationships, which happen in the seventh, and everything that encompasses. The eighth house is not only those tangible assets. I'm sorry, the second house is not also those tangible assets, but it also is our self esteem, our self confidence. And here it's that confidence, that emotion that we have in our relationships, the ability, what we have to share with others, and what they share with us.
Yeah, and the eighth house can also relate to other people's finances, other people's money as well. So sometimes it can be uh, issues that arise with maybe your tax, your other people's, your accounts with, that you're dealing with other people, and maybe joint accounts, or sometimes debts, mortgages, inheritances, those sort of resources belonging to others that then can make way and affect your life as well.
And we would be negligent if we did not mention that sex also falls in this house.
Sex, death, taxes.
Death, sex, and taxes. All of
Um,
those things that tend to transform us
yeah,
from the personal to the shared experience
yeah.
emotionally.
So eclipses in those houses, you're looking at those themes coming up. And, it might be that you feel it on the day of the eclipse, especially if you have a planet at in those signs. Or it might just be like we were saying, this energy is going to be lingering on over the, next few months. But they can literally happen on the day, can't they, Dorothy?
Yes. And the other thing is when we have these, the second set of eclipses here in October and November, October 20, we'll let go of the date.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, when we have these eclipses later in the year, they will actually, the sun and the moon will be in opposite houses. The sun will be in Scorpio and the moon will be in Taurus.
Yeah, that's right.
So now we have the eclipses in the third and ninth house. So the third house is about communication, perception, and understanding. The ninth house of higher education, long distance travel, seeing and experiencing the world outside of our own intimate mind. It can
Yeah,
also represent, sorry, our worldview.
that's yeah, that's right. And I also think of the third house as siblings as well. Our relationship with our brothers and
Local
sisters.
environment. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, local and neighbors. It could be you literally your neighbors around you. There might be events that are triggered at that time of the eclipses that relate to siblings, neighbors.
The third house has a lot to do with how we actually communicate the information and how we perceive information. So never neglect to look at where Mercury is when we're talking about the third house. And it happens to be in Gemini, which is over here in the fourth house right now. But it will back up almost to the exact degree of this eclipse. And so
Yeah,
again, there's another trigger for this eclipse energy that can last up to 6 months. A full moon in the ninth house and the sun in the third house brings to mind a broadening of your awareness, a broadening of the dynamic between what you think you know and what happens or what is real out there in the world. Having an experience will bring those types of realities about. So it's a shift in reality, a shift in perspective.
yeah, and I also think it could be a time for that people might be studying because it's communication, the learning part of our chart. Third house is more of the short courses. The ninth house is, as you were saying, Dorothy, is more like the higher education. So sometimes when you get eclipses here, you might begin or end some courses or some projects that you've been doing to help learn a certain subject.
In fact, to take advantage of the information in the 10th house that's coming up in the fourth house, graduation from college is not that out of the realm here.
Yeah.
So that would be a happy ending. I'm assuming everybody would love to be done with study. So there are good changes that can come about with these eclipses, things that you know, expect are coming up, and that you just want to move ahead more quickly with. Of course, sometimes there's always a case where we get something happens that we feel was unexpected.
Yeah,
But
but often, sorry,
go ahead.
I was going to say often when that comes and people might, interpret it as being an unpleasant occurrence or a shock that's not necessarily nice, it can often be with the eclipses that it's pushing you to the path you're meant to be going on. So it's like course correcting in a way. So maybe you lose your job and you think this is the end of the world, but then you're going to see the opening with the new that's coming in with it.
Yep, eclipses often bring about a shift that helps us to move forward. Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of that ninth house energy is preparing us for the 10th house, I think, sometimes as well, which is where Dorothy's moving the chart to now for
Yeah.
the fourth and the 10th.
The fourth here and the 10th here. So the fourth house has to do with home and our emotional security, our emotional grounding, integrating our own emotions about our experiences in the world. And, earlier in our lives, it's with our family, but later it's about how our deepest, most inner world, where we have to process everything in one way or another.
I think it's a very intimate house. I think a lot of that stuff we can really keep very personal. Um, might be stuff that happens that you don't necessarily talk about because it can be quite, like I said, very intimate. But I think it's also the parents, the heritage where we come from. So it could sometimes be events that are happening with your parents if they're still, alive.
Hmm. So actually any event that has to do with the home or the people that are in the home, and like I said, when we were kids, it's our parents. And as we become adults, it can be the literal structure of our home, how we maintain, how we nurture what we own or what we have, and how we nurture ourselves and how we want to be nurtured. The 10th house is more about our public persona, what people know us as out in the world. So the private versus the very public. This is the most public house in the chart.
Yeah, that's how we're seen. I think you often get celebrities or people in the royal family with a lot of planets up there. It's like people that they're known, they're recognized, and that's about in our charts. That's where we are being recognized or known, and it can literally be the the vocation, the career that you want, not the job that maybe you do every day, like the 9 to 5, but the what you aspire to do.
So in this case, the sun is reflecting the ambition you're finding down here in the fourth house, your emotional desires. The sun in the fourth house focuses on what you need emotionally, and at this time, you probably have the feeling you want an emotionally fulfilling job. You want something that you can feel is feeding you deep at your inner core.
Yeah, and it can also be maybe some new beginnings within your career. Sometimes it can be when you're getting the 10th house being activated, promotions at work or recognition at work, um, sometimes changes just generally at work. But then, like, it has the effect of coming down to the home life. How does that affect you at home? Or what are you changing at home to accommodate the changes that are happening within your career?
And something that's going on either at home or in your career is very much putting a focus on how you feel about what you do, how you feel when you go home at night, how you feel when are you being pulled from between your home life and your work life, and what kind of conditions have you set up to handle that. So a lot of times in this case, the management of home life and work life, home work life balance comes into question.
Yeah,
Ready?
yeah, it's very true. Let's move on. 5th and 11th.
Just a little wobbly. There we go.
So if you're having the 5th house and the 11th house being activated, then well, the 5th house is our house of our creativity and our fun. It can literally relate to your children because you created your children. So there might be some themes coming up among your children and your creative babies as well. So projects that you've made, projects that you've been working on, and the area of your life where you're having fun as well, where you're being playful, what you like to do. And the 5th house can also be how would you explain, like fun love affairs, that sort of not like the meaningful relationships, but some of the fun relationships that we can have.
And the 11th house is our associations, usually with group. It literally can even apply to humanity as a whole, or to the groups you associate yourself with, like I am an American or I am British. It is the result of the effort you put in the 10th house, your associations. In the original, it is the larger family, not your immediate family, but the larger family you're born into. And when we have a full moon total eclipse in the fifth and 11th house, there is that polarity between what you do for fun or how you express yourself and how the public, those outside yourself, receive that.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Yeah, the 11th house is also as well can be hopes and wishes and dreams. So it's really nice when you get a new moon in your 11th house energy, like using using that new moon to what you wish to use for the like manifesting what you dream of, what you wish for, because it can literally relate to your hopes and wishes and dreams as well.
And when there's full moon, total eclipse, what you're seeing is maybe those hopes and wishes coming to fruition. They're reaching the maximum point of experience. And it's an emotional experience for you to see how your work or your creativity, what you've created out in the world, what you've expanded yourself by, is how the public is responding to that, or how family or how the groups you belong to are relating to what you've created.
Yeah.
So the 11th house um, is the work that we, or the result or the associations that we have based on where we've gone around the chart. But of course, the 5th house is related to how well we defined our, or come into contact with our I am statement, what we have, including gifts and talents, how we perceive the world, how comfortable we feel, and how easy it is to express ourselves. So these types of alignments where we're having a full moon tend to stress, because the sun is here in the 5th house, tend to stress, how am I expressing myself? How is the way I express myself or what I create received in the world? And this is the kind of alignment where it's going to matter to you. It's going to matter to you emotionally how what you've done has been perceived or received.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are finally at
last the last
right.
houses. So this is for 6 and 12. So when you get eclipses activating these two houses. Now, the 6th house is our house of daily routines, our health, our jobs where we go every day, 9 to 5 type of work. We've talked about the 10th house as being the career that we, the vocation that we aspire and build towards. But this could be what you're doing on a daily basis, just to, make the money, or what you're doing to in your daily pattern of your routine. So it may be that you are at work every day, or maybe you're at home looking after children every day. It's that daily routine energy. So there could be shake-ups to what you're doing every day. There could be shake-ups to your routine. There might be a difference in your job if you have like a 9 to 5 job, and you're looking to change it. Maybe there might be some changes that come up in that area as well. And also looking at possible changes to your health, because it does also affect our health part of us. And pets, small pets is in the 6th house as well, so sometimes we can see changes with our furry friends.
And the 6th house is very concerned with the details, reaching competency in those areas of our life that we're trying to maintain. Try to make our lives easy as possible by maintaining things on a regular basis. The 12th house, on the other hand, is everything that's too much to define, to unclear, to subconscious. It's called the House of Hidden Enemies, and we are our worst enemy ourselves, with all of the subconscious ideas and feelings that we have buried deep inside. And so there's a pull between the unconscious and the actions we take every day. So the things that drive us, or that we seem to respond to in a subconscious level, with the day-to-day duties. Sometimes we just want to veg out, and we have all these duties and obligations in the 6th house.
Yeah, I think when you have eclipses activating these houses, you can feel really busy, really it just, having that 9 to 5 life of yours just being on fire. You might feel like you're bogged down with details, you are bogged down with the mundane, getting on with lots of chores, getting on with all the jobs that that you have to do every day. Just might feel like it's very tiresome. And sometimes you might want to escape, like to the 12th house. You might need to have that time to just turn off the lights and shut off into the darkness. I think the 12th house is like you were saying, very hidden away. And it can also be our mental health as well, the stuff that we're not telling other people about, the stuff that we're not showing other people. So sometimes if we get eclipses there, I think it can highlight a good time for therapy, where you might suddenly feel like you need to explore some type of your
And reveal secrets that
yes.
you may have kept, which also
Yeah.
takes us back to the 8th house with the secrets and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
emotional secrets that are held in the 8th house, which would be, opposing the second. So we are going to stop there because that covers all of the houses. Now, we may do another video, as Emmaleen was saying, later, maybe at the next new moon eclipse, so that we do show the sun and the moon, the new moon in each house. And we are doing this through the Mercury retrograde, so we'll have to see how this turns out.
Literally stationing today.
Yes, but we're certainly enjoying doing it together.
Yeah,
This
we'll
is the
see.
first one, a little nervous, but we're getting there.
We'll see
Emily,
how
you
it
are
goes.
great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dorothy. It's been really good. I think it's a great idea to show people so that they can use this every time there is an eclipse to be, okay, what's the basics? Where's this eclipse hitting me? Which energy is being activated right now in this eclipse? Because you probably like me, I get asked this question all the time. So this might be a good way that we can point people, well, watch this video to get an idea of where the houses are, where your house is that's being activated by this eclipse, and you can use it every time there is an eclipse, like every 6 months, because we are dealing with them fairly often. Like twice a year
But
we have eclipses.
but of course, for them to get a really personal idea of how these eclipses will be affecting their chart, it's always a good idea to get a personal reading.
Oh
And
yes.
Emmeline at EmmelineAstrology.com can help you with that, or I can help you at solvequran.com, and we'd be more than happy. It is always important to remember that where the sun is where the focus is. Where the moon is the emotional reflection of that experience where the sun is. So, in all of these cases, where the sun was focused in the lower part of the chart, there's a public response. If the sun were in the larger or the outer portion of the chart, you would have an internal, more personal
Yep.
response, emotional response. And just to clarify, this is a full moon total lunar eclipse that we're showing you here. The next one will be a new moon eclipse, and that is on, just a second, and I will let you know,
The October
October
the
25th.
25th. Yep.
And then so that's a new moon in Scorpio, the opposite of where the new moon was this time in Taurus. And then the next one this year will be November 8th, and that will be a full moon in Taurus.
Yeah.
So, um, this video will help you through all of those eclipses, and we hope you have enjoyed it.
Yes. Well, thanks, Dorothy.
Thank you, Emily. I will send you the recording as soon as possible. I'm going to stop share and stop recording.
Okay.